Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on boxing. This is the pre video for the post video, or the big video that I'll be doing later this week. Stay tuned, jump on, participate, and let's talk about the fights this weekend. This is a great weekend of boxing. Obviously, we've had some mediocre weekends the last few. Nothing big, nothing exciting coming. Obviously, after that Saudi Arabia Mexico fight weekend, which of course we were very excited about, but it ended up being a little disappointing outside of the Inui victory. This week we have a lot of great fights. Hopefully they will live up to expectation. First off, we have a great card from Top Rank. Top Rank is really showing out with a lot of the young up-and-coming Top Rank fighters, obviously being headlined by Keyshawn Davis against Edwin De Los Santos in what potentially could be a great fight. I'm picking Keyshawn to win, and I think he's going to win pretty dominantly, but this is not to dismiss or downplay De Los Santos. Obviously a very good fighter, but he hasn't been that active, and obviously stylistically I think he doesn't really bring anything that's going to really be difficult for Keyshawn Davis to capitalize on. Obviously, Keyshawn and Shakur are two very different fighters. So I think Edwin's awkwardness and his power was there to cause trouble for Keyshawn. We've seen Shakur have problems with hard punching awkward fighters before, just because being a very defense first fighter, it's hard to fight those kind of guys because they're unorthodox, and the things you normally prepare for, they don't necessarily do. Whereas Keyshawn Davis, boxer, puncher, with obviously a very good jab and a lot of power, fast hands, and great feet. I think for him, it's going to be a pretty easy day at the office against De Los Santos. But once again, I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about that matchup? We also have a great fight card out of the UK. Fabio Wardley versus Justis Huni. Obviously, Wardley was set to fight Big Baby, but I like this better. Obviously, we got two young, up-and-coming heavyweights, not some old, washed-out fucking dude that, has never really been that good, has never really lived up to expectation, has dropped the ball on numerous occasions. I think it's much better to give these young guys the opportunity to showcase and show out. Obviously, we know Wardley, hard-punching UK fighter who's really been blowing through the domestic level fighters in and around the UK. This time he's stepping in to face a domestic Australian fighter who obviously has great amateur pedigree, has looked fantastic, and really the matchup brings two very different styles into the ring. Obviously, Huni is much more of a boxer, a guy that doesn't really show great power, but obviously shows very good technical ability, whereas Wardley may not be the most technical of fighters, but he's tough as nails and hits like a fucking horse. So stylistically, it should be very fun. I'm predicting Wardley with around the 4th, 5th round knockout. I do expect that potentially Huni is going to give him some problems early on, but I think eventually that power is going to be too much for Justis Huni. But once again, I could be wrong. I could easily see this fight also go the distance and Justis Huni easily win on the cards. Let me know what you think in the predictions below. Then, of course, we have one of the top cruiserweights in boxing, Jai Opetaia, another fighter from down under, fighting this weekend, obviously against a nondescript opponent, so it would be understandable if people felt that it's going to be a blowout. I do think it's going to be a blowout. I have it as a second round TKO for Opetaia in my prediction league. And obviously we hope after this, eventually we can get to see Opetaia unify against the other big man in the division, Zurdo Ramirez. But we'll have to see if Zurdo has other plans for him, because obviously he's got a big fight, his mandatory, coming up against very good Cuban fighter, Dortokis. And then after that, a lot of people are expecting that potentially he may face David Benavidez. Obviously, if that fight happens, it's a great fight, but for true boxing purists like myself, we would of course prefer Jay Opetaia versus Zurdo, which would be a 3-belt unification. So let's hope that that's able to get done possibly later this year or maybe early next year. We will see. And then one of the most dynamic fighters out of Japan, Junto Nakatani, is going to be unifying against fellow Japanese fighter Nishida, the WBO or IBF world champion. Obviously, this is Junto's first shot at unification. You know, it's fantastic. He's already a 3-weight world champion. To unify at this early age of his career definitely shows you the kind of fighter he is and the challenges he's taking on. We do know that probably early 2026, it's being talked about a potential fight between him and obviously Inoue, the monster, which would be, you know, a historical matchup in Japanese boxing. 2 of the best fighters in the world, both pound for pound fighters, matching up in what would be a historically huge Japanese fight card. And so I do hope that happens. But obviously for Junto, he's got to get through fights like this weekend against undefeated world champion Nishida. Not the hardest puncher, but a very tall, long, skilled boxer. A guy who obviously is going to try to control the range, use his jab, and be effective in, you know, staying out of Junto Nakatani's range. And obviously that's easier said than done. So we'll see what happens. I am predicting that Junto is going to get an 8th round knockout in that fight. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that's it for today's short break. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Do you agree or disagree? As I said, I'm going to be going more deep later this week on a live, so jump in, let's break it up, let's talk about it. And obviously there's a lot of boxing news to talk about, so I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.